This is Tanishka, and yeah, I hope you're all doing well. We are certainly living in interesting times. Today is, of course, the wake of yesterday's full moon in Aquarius, which was conjunct Jupiter, the biggest planet in our solar system. So, really magnifying and heightening the impact of those Aquarian energies. And Aquarius is the sign of the future. So, this is a time when we're likely to get a sneak peek of our future. And if we don't like the look of it, then of course we can realign our trajectory. So the sun moved into Virgo yesterday, which is the sign of discernment. It's when we review, analyze, really go, okay, what's working for me, what isn't, so we can make adjustments. So I have recorded and put out today to my subscribers a whole video about the coming new moon in Virgo, and I'll share a snippet of that with you next week. But for now, I just felt to talk a little bit about, well, the role of circles at this time. So, we are going through such extraordinary change individually and collectively that I currently facilitate 5 circles a month online for my students in my various programs. I've got one tonight with the men who are journeying the hero's journey with me as the sun moves into a new sign. Oh, Francie, bless you, darling. She says, why do I want to end my life? Well, not that I could presume to know, but the moon is currently in Pisces, which is the final sign, and it's it's also the final water sign, but it's the most emotionally sensitive. So if you feel like you just want to dig a hole and get in it, maybe you just need to. Maybe you need to just wallow for a day and let yourself feel, so that then you can feel differently tomorrow. If we think about babies, they will experience intense emotion by being in the present tense. They might be screaming their head off, and then once that's spent, they go to the opposite polarity and they are blissful, they are joyful. So I think part of the reason we have so much depression on the planet is we're not encouraged to feel and to express as feelings come up. And then, once we sort of suppress them, we can remain stuck and heavy with the unexpressed emotion. And when that accumulates, we can just feel emotionally overwhelmed, like we just have had enough. But your question also speaks to what it is that I'm speaking about, and that is we need connection. Okay, so the isolation that's been imposed for many of us, that is a form of torture, let's face it, because many studies have found the one thing that helps people that are suffering with addictions, which is all trauma based, is connection. So if you don't have enough support, chances are you are going to feel at times like you just want to opt out, you just want to end it. And we have more people leaving the planet now than ever before because things are so extraordinarily eclipsed by the shadow. But do remember that the dawn always follows the darkest time. So if you want to be here for the celebration that's going to follow the disintegration and the destruction of all that we've known and all the corruption being purged, like a big boil being lanced, hang in there and keep purging all of your own dark feelings and emotions that are coming up. And as I was saying, I hold space for people to do that each month in circles. So at the moment, I've got registrations open for my Inner Goddess course. And in that course, we journey over 7 months, and that includes 7 monthly circles with women of all ages, women of all cultures, you know, all walks of life. Let's face it, you know, we're all different, and that's part of this wonderful Aquarian energy. You know, it's about celebrating our differences, our diversity, because that's what makes life interesting. But what's so lovely about Circle is we find our commonality. We find how universe, one story, our mythic heroine's journey is, or for the guys journeying with me around the hero's journey, how universal that is. You know, I mean, you know, we've got men of all different generations taking that journey together, and it warms my heart to see the intergenerational connection that happens, you know, the brotherly love, the sisterly love. And so even though, yes, it's online and we'd much prefer to sit in a room in circle together and be able to give each other a hug at the end of the night, you know, or share a cup of tea, at least it's better than just not having any connection at all, you know. And Circle is something all the Indigenous cultures knew was a foundation for social sustainability. Yeah, if we can't look each other in the eye, if we can't be that honest, if we can't drop the social mask and be transparent with each other, how in goodness name are we going to have world peace, or, you know, happy families and relationships? You know, the first, I suppose, building block or practice is that we learn to be authentic and honest and unguarded and show up just as we are and share that. And that's a novel experience for a lot of us. You know, I certainly didn't grow up with that being modeled for me. My mum didn't have support, and I watched her suffer terribly, you know, and my dad in different ways. So, you know, it's made me really passionate seeing how much I've benefited from Circle. I've sat in Circle for 25 years, and, you know, everybody walks away from our circles online feeling so much better than when they arrived, you know, because I always do a check-in, get everyone to write how they're feeling at the beginning and then again at the end, and it's always a big shift into the positive. And, you know, that only comes from daring to lift the bonnet, have a look in the engine room, so to speak, to actually really be honest with ourselves and go, am I feeling dark? You know, can I dare to acknowledge what isn't working for me in my life? And by being that honest with ourselves, we relieve ourselves of the burden, okay? Whereas when we're doing avoidance, when we're like, yeah, I don't want to look at it, everything's good, I'm happy, I'm just going to distract myself, it's sitting there waiting for us, you know, so that when we try to go to sleep, it's like, shut up, mind, I can't think, you know. So if you haven't tried Circle, there's also a directory on my website of circles that are happening all over the world with women that have done my online facilitator training. So you might want to check those out under the free resources on my website, themoonwoman.com. But the other thing I'm doing today, which I'm just loving, is I'm doing readings for the women that are enrolling in this intake for the Inner Goddess course. So this is an optional extra. It's not something that you have to have, but these are the only readings that I do now. I did do readings, you know, for many, many years, but I'll show you the deck actually. I developed this deck. I mean, years ago I used to just do it with bits of card with the names of the goddesses on, but these are Katia Honor, dear friend of mine, did the artwork for Athena there. We've got some lovely images. Oh, she also did Ishtar, who governs the crown chakra. So what we do is we chart these different archetypes. Eileen Polderman's a wonderful Melbourne-based artist who was in her 80s when she painted the wise woman Hecate, who governs the third eye. for this deck. Nailed it, because see the, I don't know if you can see the image on the camera, but she got Wotan's cross, which is the symbol for Hecate. She channeled that, so bless her. Another Melbourne artist. Can you see that? I've actually got the original of that beautiful painting in storage at the moment. And that's Aphrodite. And oh God, I'm just blanking on the artist, and she was my dear neighbour, and I'm trying to think of her name. I've just totally blanked. I have to get back to you on that. Anyway, there's Lilith. So I do a reading, Medicine Woman and Demeter. And if anyone's interested, I'm not selling these cards individually, because I get them printed on demand, or I used to. I will be teaching people that would like to become Sacred Union facilitators in the imminent future. So that will include teaching you how to do those readings and get a working deck. But basically I'm doing them as print on demand, so the price of the deck costs more than I could actually charge for it. So yeah, not very sustainable at this point, but stay tuned. So yeah, where's my chart? So I chart how the 7 goddess archetypes are currently playing out in your psyche. So who's dominant going down to who's the least, and how that impacts your chakras, your energy system, specifically the feminine meridian. So the female serpent, who spirals anti-clockwise in the base chakra and then alternating up through the chakras. So depending on the level of awareness that an archetype's playing out at, whether it's at the unconscious, the semi-conscious, or the conscious level, that impacts the flow of energy in each one of those chakras or energy centers. So that's a little bit about the readings that I'm doing today. But it's lovely to meet these students. I when I used to teach this training over 9 months, for I think 7 years I did it before I started offering it online, and it's always really good to do before the course, because it flags which aspects and therefore which months are going to be the most challenging. And I channel guidance literally by asking each one of those goddess archetypes to speak through me, to give personal guidance. So it's always very elevating. Those of you that work as healers and readers, and ceremonial priestesses, you'll know when you strap on your priestess hat, it's always very heightening. So yeah, I'm enjoying meeting this intake of students, and the registrations are only open for, we start on, I think it's the 6th of September, so we don't take late enrollments, because this particular course is aligned with, we start the new moon closest to the equinox. So but if it calls you, you can check it out. I'll post a link for it under this video when I finish. But yeah, I wanted to also speak about how we all need support, and that, often can be our friends, which is lovely, but also every hero or heroine, and this journey is, if you will, the heroine's journey. It's the descent down to heal the feminine within our psyche. And I was just writing in my Grail book, which I'm so excited to bring out. I'm so excited, my gosh. It's been years. I've got in my hard drive so many different drafts that I've done of this book over the years, and so much research, and I'm getting closer. We're going to be launching the first 3 chapters for free for those that pre-order the book. The beginning of I think the 7th of September we're launching that, so stay tuned. But yeah, I've been writing the chapter on the Magdalens, and on the need for a mentor for the hero or the heroine on their quest, on their journey. And we're shown in Hollywood that the hero, like Thor, gets out of the underworld on his own, but that was never the way it was. You know, there was always a mystic, a guide, you know, like Gretel in Hansel and Gretel. She leaves the trail of breadcrumbs, and when they get lost in the forest, she helps lead Hansel, her brother, out. Well, you know, before the Brothers Grimm, this was the case in all the ancient myths. You know, Ariadne had the thread that, you know, showed the heroes out of the labyrinth, and in the Norse tradition, it was the goddess Hel, which is where the Christians appropriated that word for the underworld. But she was a wise and benevolent goddess that helped people that were trapped in the dark, in the labyrinth of their subconscious, i.e., that were depressed. So that has always been the role of the you know, the priestesses, the mystics, those that serve the Grail. And without that tradition, we see a world that is eclipsed by shadow, that is trapped in the underworld, with depression, you know, more prevalent than it's ever been, and more suicide. So yeah, I look forward to you know, mentoring those of you that feel like you would like that. In the program that's available now for women, that involves online mentoring. So basically, you write a question, it lands in my inbox, and I get back to you usually within 24 hours on a weekday. Those are questions relating to the cause. And there's the option of having a one-on-one reading with me, but also the monthly group circles that I facilitate. So that's how I support the women. Similarly, for the men, we've got coming up end of October the Rainbow Warrior course, and so that's a 7-week program that will have weekly circles, so as well as the mentoring. So yeah, just a bit of a taster. If you're feeling like, oh fuck, this is hard, you know, know that you're not alone. Know that there is additional support and help to make sense of the dark, to illuminate it, you know, like the Pilar's light. You just need to reach out. And oh, I've got a few questions here. Why I get upset daily? Well, that will be if there are unprocessed things from our past, we are more reactive emotionally. You know, it's often there's signaling there's a backlog of pain that we need to process. So yeah, we need support for that. Rebecca, did a bit of work, what I could manage, wallowing the rest of the day. Go you. Yeah, look, you know, we're so shamed for being sentient, feeling beings, but let's face it, that's who we are. So when we judge and reject our ability to feel, we compound it, you know, we spiral down even more, because the story that we're running is, oh, I'm a failure, I'm getting it wrong. But you know, this it's part of the journey that we learn how to explore those feelings, you know, how to hold space for our feelings. Yeah. And I love, somebody also wrote on the comments for today that they were just letting themselves have a darn good cry. And you know, every time we cry, it softens our social mask. Yeah, otherwise we end up really hard and brittle. And I honestly think it helps us to have a youthful appearance, you know. And I know after I cry, I often end up with the colour of my eyes being much brighter. So, you know, to have spaces that are held and that are compassionate, non-judgmental, and, you know, we feel supported to cry, is absolutely essential. This is, you know, what, again, all Indigenous cultures did for each other, and we've become so disconnected from our feeling nature and so ashamed of the fact that we feel intensely that we tend to shy away when we most need support. Reese is saying feelings aren't facts. Hang in there. Lovely. Oh, it's so nice seeing all of you responding. I do love the sisterhood and brotherhood that I witness here on my page. So thank you, those of you that, are reaching out to those that are having a tough time. Beautiful. Financial struggle. Yeah. Look, the group mind is also quite heavy at the moment, understandably, because there's a lot of fear being, continually programmed in through the mainstream media. And so, when you have a lot of people that have been broken down, so to speak, they've had their spirit broken through their intrinsic rights being violated repeatedly, then the group mind becomes very dense, the frequency becomes very heavy, and it's much harder then, like, a salmon swimming upstream, to be able to go against that and to rise in spite of the heaviness. So, if you need to just be heavy, be heavy. Okay, allow yourself to sink down in the mud, allow yourself to stop fighting and pushing and to just surrender, because in that you may find your salvation. You may be baptized through your own tears and reach out to a higher power, and that is when the real magic, the metamorphosis, happens for all of us. So this too shall pass. Know that very close proximity of Jupiter to yesterday's full moon, and it's still gibbous, it's still really, really big at the moment, so that will really be amplifying emotions. So if things seem overwhelming at the moment, know that over the next couple of days that should subside a bit. Anyway, blessings to you all. I've got to go do a reading, and even if you just reach out to a few people and create a little group on Telegram, that you can act as mutual support for each other. But if you don't have support, find creative, resourceful ways to create support, because through that connection you will get through this. All right, ciao for now, everybody.